Okay, so better late than never. Here are my thoughts on the two-day event, which is basically the tournament to crown a number one contender for the UK Championship, and I guess what is considered the official launch of the NXT UK brand. I don't know if this formally counts as a takeover or not. They're treating it like one, but I'm just calling it NXT UK for right now, or TakeOver UK. So. I guess that's what I'm going with. Anyway, this was a tournament match. So, these were tournament matches for the most part in the first part of this. So you're getting a lot of the same moves over and over again, but I'll try to touch on some of the highlights here. Also, I don't really have many pictures of these matches, unfortunately. I just couldn't really seem to find many. All I have are clips from the actual matches themselves. So. Getting to it, our first tournament match, quarterfinals, is Zach Gibson versus Jack Gallagher. Gibson is definitely the heel of this. He turns to flip off the crowd. Thankfully, it was not on the hard camera side. He saw it from behind. Gallagher basically did his typical babyface shtick here. He didn't really do the heel stuff that he'd been doing on 205 Live. He hit a head scissors, he hit a bunch of drop kicks, a headbutt or two. Gibson hit a second rope code breaker called the lung blower. Eventually he hit Gallagher hit a gentleman's drop kick. Gibson dodged a headbutt and then tossed Gallagher into the ring post. Gibson blocked a top rope headbutt attempt and then locked on a top wrist lock that he calls the Shankly Gates. That's his finishing hold. Gallagher eventually tapped out. Gibson advances. Like I said, Gibson is the real heel in this whole thing. He didn't shake hands for any of the tournament matches. He didn't, again, he spent a lot of time jockeying with the crowd. He calls himself Liverpool's number one, but I doubt he'd even be a babyface in Liverpool. So he's a really good heel. He really knows how to work things because the crowd was never really in his corner at all. After that, we have our next match, quarterfinal match, Joe Coffey versus Dave Mastiff. This is the Hoss match, the two really big guys. This was a pretty humdrum kind of match, unfortunately. Not a lot of real high-impact stuff. Coffey did hit a missile dropkick at a couple points, and he hit a snap suplex. Mastiff hit a big lariat and followed it with a German suplex. Coffey dodged a cannonball attempt from Mastiff and then his springboard crossbody and finishes off with a discus lariat for the 3 count and the victory. I saw some of the clips that they used to pump up some of these guys. I didn't see anything for Gibson though. Mastiff looks like a kind of, unfortunately since he passed away, kind of like Vader in the ring where he's more agile than his size would indicate. Unfortunately, we didn't really get to see that in this match. Okay, our next quarterfinal match is Flash Morgan Webster versus Jordan Devlin. Devlin competed in last year's UK tournament. He lost to Tyler Bate, I believe, in the semifinals, was the quarterfinals. Since then, he's been kind of a heel string with a lot of his independent bookings. So he's kind of playing more of a heel here. Devlin gave Webster a couple of cheap shots. Webster hit a split-legged arm drag and followed that with an inverted senton. Devlin hit a Uranagi moonsault combo. Webster came back with a big flying knee. Webster hit 3 successive suicide moves. He did a suicide dive between the second and third rope. He did one through the bottom rope, and then he did a suicide plancha over the top rope. And then Webster hit a tilt-a-whirl death drop DDT, as he calls it, the Eaton rifle for the 3 count and the victory. This was your big high spot quarterfinal match. Both men are incredibly agile, doing some insane maneuvers. Flash Morgan Webster has a mod gimmick. So yeah, he has like the striped suit and the motorcycle helmet, and the sort of purplish round sunglasses. Yeah, again, real high spot match, pretty entertaining overall. Okay, our final quarterfinal match is Travis Banks versus Ashton Smith. Travis Banks from New Zealand, which at one point was part of the UK, but really isn't anymore. But anyway, Banks tried to go for a quick roll-up right off the bat. Smith has a lot of athleticism, but you can tell he's still kind of green in the ring. He's still finding his way. He didn't quite have he had some good moves, but they weren't quite as fluid or as pinpoint as they needed to be. Banks hit a leg sweep, and it was like at one point, yeah, Smith was charging at Banks. He hit a big leg sweep on him. It sent Banks into the second turnbuckle. Banks came back with a big drop kick, which sent Smith into the turnbuckle. Smith came back in a suicide plancha and followed it with a big super kick. Banks came back with what he calls the slice of heaven, which was basically a corkscrew spin kick from the second rope, and he followed it up with his finisher, which is the Kiwi Crusher, a Fisherman Brainbuster for the 3 count and the victory. Banks advances. Again, you could tell Banks is probably the more experienced of the two, and he was trying to compensate for Smith's inexperience. And not entirely a bad match, but probably the weakest of the quarterfinals. Okay, so first, this is our first filler match. We had a women's triple threat match for a #1 contendership shot at the NXT Women's Championship to take place in part 2 of the show. Toni Storm versus Killer Kelly versus Isla Dawn. This was a very short match. Not too much to really speak of. I mean, right off the bat, Isla Dawn and Killer Kelly teamed up on Storm, hit a wheelbarrow DDT on her. But Storm came back. Eventually, Dawn and Kelly began fighting each other. Dawn hit a big knee strike with her. Kelly hit Dawn with a coffin drop kick. Storm then came and hit the air raid crash, or the Storm Zero as she calls it, on Dawn for the 3 count and the victory. No real shock here. We're going to see Killer Kelly again down the line, and again, she's a lot like Ashton Smith, that she's still a little green in the ring, and unfortunately it shows during some points, but she does have a bright future ahead of her if she sticks to this. As for Isla Dawn, she has kind of this this Wiccan gimmick, and I would like to have seen a bit more from her, but she seemed to be underutilized in this. I wonder if maybe they should have modified this match a little bit, make it maybe an elimination match. It would have definitely added a bit more to it. Okay, it's at this point Triple H and Johnny Saint, who's the GM for the new NXT UK, come out to announce the formation of the new NXT UK brand. And over the next few weeks, they'll be working on women's and tag teams divisions to join the UK Heavyweight Championship. After that, we have our first semifinal match, Flash Morgan Webster versus Zach Gibson. Webster hits a flying knee drop right after the bell. You don't need knee drop. Knee strike after the bell rings. Webster did a spot where he leapt and he grabbed the ring post, kind of swung around it to hit a drop kick on Gibson. Gibson countered an Easton Rifle attempt, or an Eaton Rifle, sorry, and hit a Snake Eyes. Webster came back at a corkscrew moonsault from the second rope. Gibson countered a top rope suicide dive and hit the Helter Skelter, which is basically a spinning brain buster, on the ramp, on the entrance ramp to the ring. And Gibson got Webster back in the ring and locked on the Shankly gates. Webster tapped out soon thereafter. Quick match, again, definitely trying to set up for a longer match in the finals. So, yeah, no real shock that Gibson won here. I mean, they're basically going into this, Gibson was the only heel. The other three were pretty much the baby faces in this. And, yeah, again, like, you know, you kind of, when you see that, you're like, okay, yeah, Gibson's probably going to go to the final because they don't want to have face versus face. That leads us into our second semifinal match, Travis Banks versus Joe Coffey. Coffey came to the ring selling injured ribs. Both men landed a bunch of strikes early on. Coffey hit a big shoulder block. Coffey dominated this match really. He hit a swinging butterfly suplex. Coffey locked Banks in a straitjacket hold for a while. Banks came back and hit a running kick. Banks hit another running kick off of the ring apron. Coffey hit a quarter splash and followed it with a German suplex. Banks countered the discus lariat with a big drop kick. Banks hit another slice of heaven and then hit a victory roll, countering another discus lariat, and got the 3 count. After the match, immediately Joe Coffey attacked Travis Banks, turning heel in the process. But like I said, he was going as a babyface into the match. He threw Banks into the ring post, and that caused Banks' shoulder to be injured, which he sold for the rest of the show. After that, we have our second filler match, a six-man tag, British Strong style, that is Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, and Trent Seven. Bate and Seven together are colloquially known as Mustache Mountain, versus the Undisputed Era of Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Adam Cole, baby! O'Reilly and Bate opened things up. O'Reilly fought out of a roll-up and went into an armbar attempt. Strong and Dunn tagged in briefly. You finally got their, I guess you would call it their return match for the NXT TakeOver at WrestleMania weekend. Dunn suplexed Adam Cole onto Roderick Strong. Bate came in and suplexed O'Reilly onto Strong. Bate performed an airplane spin on Cole and Adam Strong. Basically, not Strong. Okay, sorry. O'Reilly, I wrote the wrong name down. O'Reilly was doing sleeper hold, but Bate had Roderick Strong up in the airplane spin, so he was spinning both of them around. Eventually, Mustache Mountain hit Discus Lariat Dragon Suplex combo on Kyle O'Reilly for the 3 count and the victory. Kind of an odd match. Again, they're trying to pad out some of the time here, but given that in the next part of the show, Mustache Mountain takes on the Undisputed Era for the Tag Team Championships, it just felt a little weird, especially given what happens there. Okay, and now we reach the finals of the tournament to crown the number 1 contender for the UK Championship. It's Zach Gibson versus Travis Banks. Banks is still selling a shoulder injury, which Gibson immediately targets. Banks manages to fight back and land several kicks. Gibson dropped Banks' injured arm on the ring barricade and then tossed it into the ring steps. Banks came back in a suicide dive and a couple of knee strikes. Excuse me. Banks hit a double stomp from the second rope. Banks used the barricade to hit a spin kick, or it's a slice of heaven basically off of it onto Gibson. Gibson hit, what did I hit that? An armbar slam, sorry, and then tried to lock on the shakely gates, but Banks got to the ropes. Banks hit another double stomp from the ring apron. Gibson used the ropes to try to get a leverage pin. Banks tried to go for the Kiwi Crusher. He hit it, but he didn't quite get all of it. Gibson came back with the Helter Skelter and then locked on the Shakely Gates, and eventually Banks tapped out. Again, when you see the babyface selling the injury, it's either he's going to pull off a miracle win or he's going to put up the game fight but eventually give in, and obviously the latter proved true here. Immediately afterwards, Banks did offer to shake Gibson's hand. Gibson teased doing it, but then blew him off and just played to the crowd the whole time. That's how the first part of the show ends. Overall, the tournament matches were all pretty good, except for the Travis Banks, Ashton Smith match. That just felt a little green. Unfortunately, the filler matches really did kind of feel like filler. They did not really add much. I do kind of wish they had maybe done a better women's match than what they had done, especially that felt pretty weak. But I'll save my overall thoughts for the end when we cover the next part. Okay, and it's now that we move on to NXT TakeOver UK, or NXT UK TakeOver, whatever you want to call it. Our first match is the NXT Tag Team Championship match, Mustache Mountain versus the Undisputed Era of Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. Yeah, this one got spoiled for me on Facebook, unfortunately. I did not watch this live. I had to watch it tape delayed, so yeah, I got it spoiled. But Adam Cole was not present because he has a North American title match against Wolfgang later. I also noticed that during the entrance, Roderick Strong cannot do the Undisputed Era gesture. You know, the U and the E. He does it like this for some reason. He can't, can he not bend his elbow over to make it look like a UE? I mean, Undisputed Era. I have no idea what this is supposed to mean. West Central something? Anyway, Bate and Strong opened things up, and Bate managed to fight out of an arm wringer and hit a big drop kick. Mustache Mountain came in and hit a double team senton onto Strong. Strong hit a wrecking ball drop kick on 7 through the ropes. 7 drop kick Strong through the ropes and into the ring barricade. Kyle O'Reilly broke up a tag attempt between, they pulled Tyler Bate off of the ring apron. Eventually Bate got the hot tag, and Bate hit a running shooting star press on Strong. O'Reilly put Bate in the sleeper, but Tyler Bate came back and hit a big German suplex on Roderick Strong at the same time. Mustache Mountain hit O'Reilly with a lariat dragon suplex combo, but Strong broke the pin. They hit another double team move, a torture rack, knee drop combo on O'Reilly, got the 3 count there. Really great match to start things off, highly entertaining. Do have to wonder what they're doing though. I know Oney Lorcan is hurt, and so the team of Lorcan and Birch is probably not going to get a shot at Brooklyn. Does that mean they're going to put the belts back on, Undisputed Era, are they finally going to start leading? I mean, it seems like Undisputed Era finally just fully formed. Now they're starting to move towards the breakup, it looks like, because there was a lot of instances where Strong and O'Reilly were running into each other. I know Fish is still on the shelf, but this does kind of leave things in kind of a murky sense, because eventually Mustache Mountain's probably going to be the tag team champions of the UK brand. Are they also going to be the tag team champions of regular NXT or not? So we'll see how that starts to shake out. Okay, and now it's our second match, and yeah, it's a filler match. It's Killer Kelly again versus Charlie Morgan. No relation to Liv, although she does have Liv Morgan's old NXT entrance attire. The jersey with the hat on the turn sideways, and the only thing she's missing is she did not rep her area code. Charlie Morgan's not from New Jersey. She's from... Oh, where is she from? I want to say Lancashire. She's not from... Yeah, she's from England. Kelly is actually from... I had never mentioned this. She's from Portugal, but she's part of the NXT UK brand now. Kelly dodged a corner splash and put Morgan in a brief torture rack. Kelly came in and locked on a dragon surfboard hold. Morgan fought out in a big super kick and followed with a springboard senton for a 2 count. Morgan reversed a suplex into a small package for the 3 count. Yeah, this match really added nothing. Again, I kind of wish they had done more with the women in this. Is maybe the UK women's roster a little weak? I don't want to say that, but it kind of looks that way. I mean, like I said, Killer Kelly's got kind of a decent look. Maybe she could do something, but she's still a little green in the ring. Morgan looked a little bit better in the ring, but I don't think she was able to carry Kelly to much of anything, unfortunately. After that, we have a number 1 contender match that was supposed to be a triple threat between Mark Andrews, Flash Morgan Webster, and Travis Banks. But then Johnny Saint decided to make it a fatal 4-way, adding Noam Dar to the mix. He's back from injury. He's off at 205 Live, and this is to be a number 1 contender for the UK Championship at the end of, which is being defended at the end of the show, obviously. Early on, Webster hit Dar with the head scissors. Andrews came in and hit a standing moonsault on Webster. Banks hit a drop kick onto Dar, sending him into the second turnbuckle. Andrews hit a corkscrew moonsault on the other men on the outside of the ring. Webster hit Andrews with a hip toss facebuster combo, and as Webster was making the pin, Banks broke it with a double stomp from the top rope. Andrews got put in a double submission hold by Dar and Banks. Dar did a knee bar. Banks did kind of a crossface. Andrews countered a Kiwi Crusher into the Stunt Dog Millionaire, basically into a kind of a Stone Cold Stunner-like maneuver. Dar came in and hit a jumping roundhouse kick on Banks and got the 3 count. He is your new number 1 contender. Good to see Noam Dar back. I loved him in the Cruiserweight Classic. Did not love him on 205 Live, where he got caught up in that whole Cedric Alexander, Alicia Fox thing, and it was just again, like, he was trying to play like the... I know he's really good at playing a smarmy heel, but not when you're hitting... He doesn't come across hitting on women very well for some reason. Like, that whole angle just felt weird. It was not good, but again, maybe now that he's on the NXT UK brand, things will look better. I don't know about Jack Gallagher, but he seemed to also be part of the NXT UK brand now as well. Don't know if he's going to go back to being a face or if he'll just travel between 205 Live and NXT UK. Same thing with Dar. I mean, he was on 205 Live as well, so I'm not entirely sure. Oh, I forgot. After the match, Joe and Mark Coffey. Mark is Joe's real life brother. They showed him during the tournament briefly, but they jumped the ring and they attacked Banks, Webster, and Andrews. Dar basically just left. He then kind of teased maybe going back in the ring, but then he thought better of it and left on his own. Okay, after that we have the North American Championship match. Wolfgang versus Adam Cole, baby! Right off the bat, Wolfgang hit a forearm shiver on Adam Cole. Cole came back with a neck breaker. Wolfgang came back and hit basically a fireman's carry into a gut buster. Cole came back and hit a jumping scurry through the ring ropes. Wolfgang countered a crossbody into a gut buster. Cole countered a top rope move into a super kick. Cole hit a backstabber and got a 2 count. Cole hit the Higurashi neckbreaker. Wolfgang hit a discus lariat for a 2 count. Wolfgang then went up for his finisher, the full moon. It's a swanton bomb basically. And Cole rolled out of the way and hit the Shining Wizard for the 3 count in the victory. Really great little match. Good solid action throughout. Not really a lot of dead spots. Again, not too surprising that Cole retained. You could kind of justify doing the tag title change. I don't think you want to change all the belts at this point. So it does make everything else seem a little anticlimactic, but other than that, they still managed to carry the match through very well. Okay, our next match is a tag team match. Aleister Black and Ricochet versus EC3 and the Velveteen Dream. EC3, Aleister Black was making his entrance. Aleister Black does his little pose in the ring and he does the belt and everything. EC3 was actually on the outside of the ring mocking the pose. He was doing the same thing. Immediately, Dream and Ricochet were opening up, but Dream demanded that Black be tagged in. As soon as he did, Dream turned around and tagged in EC3. The heels' antics really did kind of carry this match pretty well. Unfortunately, other than that, it was pretty dry. I mean, there was a few bits. Black blocked a kick and hit EC3 with a big arm drag. Ricochet hit a top rope crossbody. Black and Ricochet hit a couple of double team maneuvers. Dream teased doing an axe handle to the outside of the ring, but changed his mind after the crowd was really cheering him on. I mean, Velveteen Dream really did play the heel well in this. Better than it is in the States, where he just always gets cheered. So here the crowd really did boo him. Black got a big tag and hit a lion salt and on both Dream and EC3. EC3 then inadvertently tripped Velveteen Dream on the top rope. Dream hit a Spanish DDT for a 2 count. Dream tagged in EC3. A couple other moves got hit. EC3 went to tag Dream, but Dream basically walked away from the ring, selling an injury, but he just abandoned EC3, allowing Aleister Black to hit the Black Mass on EC3 for the 3 count and the victory. Like I said, a very pedestrian match that was only redeemed by the antics of the heels. Other than that, I thought just, again, kind of forgettable. Afterwards, there was a spot with Ricochet grabbing the belt to hand it over to Aleister Black and kind of looking at it. But I don't know if there's anything that's really going to come of that, since I believe the next match is... They're plotting towards something with Tommaso Ciampa. I don't know if it's going to be a triple threat with Gargano, or if it's just going to be Ciampa and Black on their own. But we'll see how that turns out. Okay, our next match is the NXT Women's Championship match. Shayna Baszler versus Toni Storm. Storm immediately managed to do some chain wrestling. She locked on a front face lock. Shayna reversed that and began rubbing Storm's face into the mat. Storm came back into a suicide dive. Shayna dodged a running kick and hit a hair pole slam on the outside of the ring. Phone goes off, sorry. Shayna locked on a heel hook and then began stomping on Storm's ankle. Storm countered a kick into a German suplex. Shayna hit a gut-wrench top rope superplex. Shayna then locked on another heel hook. Storm came back and hit the air raid crash for a 2 count. Shayna locked on a rear naked choke, but Storm got to the ropes. But Shayna maintained the hold as the two tumbled out of the ring. It eventually proved to be too much. Toni Storm passed out, was unable to answer the 10 count to get back in the ring. Shayna Baszler wins. Again, not much of a shock there. I know they probably want to keep the belt on her for a while. Again, like I said, is maybe the women's division a little weak? Because it seems like they just have Toni Storm and that's it. And I know they're gearing up for another Mae Young Classic, so maybe we'll see more then. But obviously, they're probably going to make Storm more of the face of the women's division on the UK brand. Don't know if they're really going to follow through on this. I mean, Storm put up a good effort. It was a decent enough match. It didn't feel much like the previous women's match did. But like I said, I'm kind of left with some questions on this. Don't know if are they going to gear up for the Brooklyn match with Kairi Sane, or are they going to maybe push that back to the Survivor Series takeover? And now we come to the main event, Pete Dunne versus Zach Gibson for the UK Championship match. This was an all-out brawl, and this really did make the show wholeheartedly fun. Dunne immediately set about bending Gibson's fingers back to prevent him from locking on the Shankly gates. Dunne came back in a running kick on Gibson. Gibson tossed Dunne into the ring barricade after putting him in a hammerlock. Gibson hit a jumping armbar slam on Dunne. Dunne hit a straight jacket headbutt. Dunne then hit the H-plex. Dunne rolled out of an attempted German suplex and hit a big roundhouse. The two fought to the outside of the ring. Dunne hit a flipping death drop DDT to the outside of the ring. Gibson tossed Dunne into the ring steps, but then Dunne came back and hit the H-plex on the ramp. Gibson hit the lung blower, and Dunne immediately struck back with a lariat of his own. Both men began headbutting each other to the point of near unconsciousness. Dunne hit a bitter end, but only got a 2 count on it. He didn't quite get Gibson all the way up. Gibson hit a lung blower for the second rope and then locked on the Shankly gates, but Dunne just managed to get to the ropes. Gibson hit the super helter-skelter and locked on the Shankly gates again, but Dunne just managed to get to the ropes. At this point, Gibson began taunting Dunne, which went a little too far, and Dunne immediately came back and hit the bitter end for the 3 count and the victory. Like I said, really great match. They knew how to tell the story where Dunne is just this tough, no-nonsense type of guy. Gibson is also tough and kind of no-nonsense, except he's a little more cocky and arrogant in his no-nonsense than Dunne is. And they just, like, you knew that's like, this was kind of an irresistible force meeting an immovable object type deal, and Dunne just came through when the chips were down at their most. Like I said, it was really great. Afterwards, basically the entire roster came out in NXT. Johnny Singh came out, Triple H came out, and they all said, Triple H got the microphone and said, "This is your brand, this is your NXT," and that's how the show went off the air. So yeah, I mean, I am excited for an NXT UK brand. I mean, they've been teasing doing this for about a year. I mean, this was supposed to launch kind of last year. Now it seems that finally got everything squared away, and now they can make this official. I do wonder how this is going to work. If it are they going to do takeovers set in the UK? Are they going to come over and contribute to takeovers here in America? I mean, I guess they would probably do that like WrestleMania weekend or something, but are they going to do that right away at the Brooklyn show or not? Again, you have a tag team that's the American Tag Team Champions. Are they going to, how long are they going to hold on to those? Are they going to drop them back to the Undisputed Era? But like I said, overall, the match really did kind of help bring the show back up a little bit because as good as most of the matches were, unfortunately, the filler matches really did feel like filler sometimes. I would have liked to have seen some of the other guys on there. I know they signed El Ligero. He wasn't on this. I mean, I know he was in one of the earlier matches. He was in the first round match for the tournament, but that wasn't part of this show, so I'm not counting that. You know, you could have maybe put him in one of the filler matches and showed that off. Like I said, I do wonder about the women's division, how strong that necessarily is. Are they going to maybe put some of the trainees from the American Performance Center back over there to help round things out a little bit? I don't really know. So, but overall, like I said, the show was not bad. The show was highly enjoyable. If you watch it, you really won't be that disappointed in it. I'm going to give it a B. Like I said, the only thing that kept me giving it an A was the filler matches really did feel like filler. Okay, so next video after this is going to be the review for Uncle Drew. After that, it will be Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then the review, the random trade review for Abyss. Next wrestling show is going to be Extreme Rules, which is on July 15th. Well, the show is on July 15th. The video review is probably going to be up on the 16th. See you all next time. Hey guys, tired of me always talking about WWE and NXT? Want to see me cover something like, say, Ring of Honor, Impact, New Japan, anything else? Check out my Patreon at Sleepy Time for Cat Productions and see how you can help me expand my wrestling coverage.